All right. I now call the March 3rd, 2026 regular meeting of the City Council to order. Tonight, our invocation is given by Kyle McDougall of Erlanger Christian Church. Good to see you again. I thought I recognized you. Yeah, there's a little button. There you go.
Good evening. Let us pray. Holy One, we come into your presence with thanksgiving, deeply grateful for the unfailing love and faithfulness you have shown toward us. When we call out to you, you answer. When we are exhausted, you give us the strength to go on. When we find ourselves in trouble, you are there standing beside us. And so we come before you with gratitude and praise, offering you the worship of our hearts and lives. Open our eyes to see you and know you here among us. Open our ears to recognize your voice. Guide our hearts and our conversations. And then send us out from here to live and work in the world as your faithful disciples. Amen.
Thank you so much. All right. I'll ask that you rise for the pledge. Ms. Hoffman, if you can please take roll call.
Mr. Cahill?
Present.
Mr. Farmer?
Present.
Ms. Fields?
Here.
Mr. Hermes?
Here.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Here.
Ms. Nicely?
Present.
Ms. Reckers?
Here.
Ms. Skidmore?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
Here.
All right, thank you. You've received a copy of the minutes from the February 3rd, 2025 regular council meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to be made at this time? Seeing none, do I entertain a motion that we adopt as presented? Ms. Reckers, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. You've also received a copy of tonight's agenda. Are there any additions to be made at this time? Ms. Reckers?
I'd like to motion to table the mayoral pay because we never finished that discussion in caucus. We weren't provided data until afterward, and it's based off of 2020 data. I know that the ad district has done a more recent study, and the figures in there need to be, I think, just discussed versus being presented with that over the weekend and having us vote tonight on those figures.
Okay. Yes. All right. I have a motion and a second to table the second item on the legislation. Roll call vote. Sherry?
Mr. Hermes?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Cahill?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Farmer?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Nicely?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reckers?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Fields?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, motion carried. We'll table and add to the caucus meeting. All right. With that change, do I entertain a motion that we continue as presented? Mr. Cahill? Ms. Reckers, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. All right, our special presentation is paused for this evening. Our business spotlight had an emergency situation, so they are not able to attend tonight. So we'll move right on to comments for the public. So we have the sign-in sheet that was placed in the back. Let's just remember that each individual that comes forward, just state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes to discuss. And Mark is going to be our timekeeper, so he'll raise his hand and kind of give you a little wave when you're close to your time, okay? So our first individual on the list is Marlene Pike, and the microphone is already live.
I understand that this is about the road on Narrows Road, the speed limit and the stop signs. And I just want to say, we've lived there 40 years. 5 houses were on that road. Speed limit at that time was 35 miles an hour. Now there are over 300 and some houses that connect to Narrows Road. That's all that extra traffic. The speed limit is still 35 miles an hour. With the new sidewalk going in, I feel like it needs to be brought down and made more like a subdivision street.
All right, thank you. All right, David Lee. Microphone is still on.
Yes, I'm David Lee. I live at 3859 or 3865 Narrows Road. I'm also speaking for my mother, who lives at 3859, and my brother, who are not able to attend this evening. I'm neither opposed or for the sidewalks. I'm more concerned with the speed control on the road. I can't tell you how many times I've pulled up to my parents' driveway trying to make a left at the top of that first crest on Narrows Road. I have my turn signal on. A car comes up behind me flying, passes me on the left on a blind hill, and just keeps right on going. I have other family members that this is happening to as well, and they no longer make that turn into my parents' driveway. They go up to Delphi, drive around that, so they can make a right-hand turn into my parents' driveway. Now, my mother's lived on the road since she was 11 years old. She's been there 86 years. You know, it is a safety hazard. You know, the speed as it is right now is a hazard. You know, the cars don't do 35. You know, I saw the study that they had up. They said the average was 38. I'd love to have a radar gun set up just to track, not to give tickets, just to track. I think you'll see cars doing 45, 50. It's interesting. And that's all I had to say, but I'm in favor of the speed limit being reduced and the stop signs. It is a safety issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Amy Bockrath.
Good evening. My name is Amy Bockrath. This is my husband, Brian, and he's the name next, so we thought we would just come together. We live at 3867 Narrows Road, and we're here to discuss the Narrows Sidewalk Initiative. We've enjoyed owning our property on Narrows since 2017, and previous to this, we were residents of Edgewood for 16 years. One of the many attributes we enjoyed about our time there was that it truly was a walking city. And we applaud Erlanger for wanting to improve amenities of Erlanger to provide more of this aesthetic for its residents. Kevin Quinn and Joe Doherty came to our front door on April 26th of 2025 to ask for a very large easement in our treed frontage just before Mesa Road to build a structure that would direct additional stormwater runoff from Narrows to the pond at the rear of our property. We met with Erlanger Public Works and VOX in May of 25 to share our questions and concerns, and we're told repeatedly we would receive the same amount of groundwater that we historically have. As things are currently, we do receive an introductory portion of Delphi Run's water via a culvert under Narrows Road. Whatever runoff naturally dissipates along the frontage of our property as well. During heavy rains, this water does run behind our barn, but has been manageable and does not cause harm to its foundation or our property, aside from continuously having to collect trash that washes into our woods. The abutting backyards on Mesa are at a higher elevation to us, and their very deep yards absorb and minimize the groundwater that we receive on the southern border of our property. We have 5.73 acres. Our concern remains that the concentrated and accelerated delivery of water collected by installing curbs and inlets during heavy rainfall events will create an altered increase in rate, timing, and force of discharge of the water onto our land, causing potential downstream property damage that the city will not take responsibility for. When we asked at this meeting if analysis of drainage area calculations to be able to know the pre and post construction peak flows, or the outlet velocity calculations, or the invert elevation at the culvert to foresee the threat to our barn's foundation being washed out and collapsing, and the force of water rushing to our pond, filling it with sediment, causing it to become more shallow and needing to be redug, or taxing our earth and land dam or spillway, causing them to fail, we were told that these calculations were not necessary by you and VOX, and you meaning Erlanger Public Works, and they persisted to state the water received would be the same. We tried to clarify that the change in delivery will amplify its effects, and we were finally told by VOX that we chose to purchase this low-lying property. For the second 3 minutes, and since we're a married couple, we'll just quickly finish. Basically, we were told that the city and mayor would not assume responsibility for losses on our property should they occur. We were assured that the city would take our concerns into account. They even offered alternative possibilities to the structure that was originally presented to us, and to keep us posted with developments. We have been disregarded and not informed of anything since that May meeting. In fact, we had to see the sign at the corner to know that the meeting was going to occur, and had to call SD1 to ask if the city has applied for permits yet to learn what was planned. I have called to ask what to do if we couldn't make the meeting on the 26th, as the verbiage of the meeting intended it was lasting all day, and asked if the plan could be emailed to us. The man who answered asked for my email and name, but then as soon as it was given, paused and said, I don't know if I can give out that information. I'll have to ask the director. We have called, texted, and not been answered. The city has not been transparent with us, but still plans to direct storm water onto our property, though now without easement or concern for us. Kevin Quinn finally replied with a voice message saying that he would arrange a meeting before the public workshop. I replied with a text stating that would be wonderful, in essence, and he has not replied to that or set such meeting, or even invited us or informed us that there was a meeting tonight. We were told by our neighbors. This behavior implies to us the city intends to ram through their plans with no regard for our property. We have sent a certified letter placing the city on formal notice that the proposed redirection and consecration of stormwater presents a foreseeable risk of structural and environmental damage to our property. We have formally requested production of documentation of all calculations and analysis, permit applications and submissions to SD1, etc., written clarification regarding indemnification or responsibility for downstream damage, or some confirmation in writing that no such analysis have been conducted. We would have been happy to have met with you in person and in private, rather than share with the residents of Erlanger how this has been conducted and how we feel that our property rights have been disregarded by the city of Erlanger. We have lost our trust and good faith in Erlanger Public Works, and we await the public records that we have requested. Thank you. My husband was going to mention that we are in favor of the speed limit change because we hear regularly loud screeching brakes. I believe people coming out of Delphi and people just zipping past, you hear brakes like you can hear it in our family room. So go ahead, hon.
Yeah, definitely appreciate everything Erlanger's doing for the city beautification. Like since we've moved here, we've definitely seen a difference, so thank you. Yeah, we live on Narrows. The closest intersection is Delphi. I'm outside quite a bit during the summer. I cannot tell you how many times I hear like brakes normally by Delphi. So I'm not sure which direction they're coming from. I'm guessing they're cresting that hill coming from Brightleaf. I think last year when I was outside, there were 2 times where I heard crashes, and they were at Delphi. So, walk to the front of the yard and you can see them there. So definitely in favor of reducing the speed. So thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the list is Olivia Anderson.
Good evening. My name is Olivia Anderson, and I am here to talk about the mentoring program at Tishner Middle School. I just wanted to bring awareness to the community. I am the mentoring program coordinator, and yeah, so pardon me, sorry. It is a brand new program that Tishner is putting on this year. We just started. Our program matches students with caring adults who meet with them once a week during the school day. The goal is simple: to provide students with encouragement, a consistent positive adult connection, and support in building confidence and life skills. Research and experience both show that when students have just one trusted adult in their corner, it can make a significant difference in their academic engagement, decision-making, and overall well-being. As we grow this program, we are looking to build strong community partnerships. We welcome local residents, business leaders, and community members who may be interested in serving as mentors or helping us spread the word. All mentors go through an application, interview, reference checks, background screening process to ensure student safety and program quality, and we are excited about the opportunity to strengthen connections between our schools and the Erlanger community, and I'd be happy to speak with anyone afterward who would like more information. So thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. All right, Jonna Herman.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council and Erlanger residents. My name is Jonna Herman. I live at 4016 Amberry Court along with my husband, Todd. And tonight we wanted to come and advocate and be in favor of the lowered speed limit as we put in the new sidewalks along Narrows. We were really excited to hear about this project because we walk 5 miles a day in our community, and we're looking forward to being able to connect safely down to Brightleaf and also to get onto Turkey Foot. So specifically what I would like to ask of you tonight is to consider maybe a little extra oomph around the stop signs. Just this morning as we were walking around 6:30, we observed 4 different cars go through 4 different intersections without any regard for the stop sign at all. A couple of years ago, my husband was almost hit. We thought the gentleman was stopping, and we thought we were safely in the crosswalk, and he almost got hit. I almost got hit personally one morning. I thought the woman saw me. I thought we made eye contact, but she just kept on going. The next thing I know, I was almost on her hood. So I would ask whoever is in that decision-making authority to think about, could we add something extra to the stop sign? Maybe one of those signs that they have that says, rolling stop, $150, complete stop is free. Not only for just to reinforce it more as these get rolled out, but also just to keep all of our children and the people who are out walking in our communities more safe. I'd also like to ask a consideration as we are rolling in the new stop signs and sidewalks to also think about down on Narrows Road, right there by the Glades Park. There is a curve that we've observed people speeding along there as well. There is a nice wide walking path, but with the curve right there next to the sidewalk and with as fast as people take that turn, every time I walk through that area, I feel just a little unsafe. So maybe a guardrail or something could be installed along that area just to help improve the safety of our pedestrians. So on behalf of myself and my husband, thank you for all you're doing to make our city more walkable. We love it here, and we look forward to this project and seeing it into fruition. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, Erin Clemens.
Hi, I'm Erin Clemens. I'm at 1254 Lynn Haven, and I'm just kind of here because of I was originally opposed to the Narrows Road, speed reduction and stop signs and everything like that. And the reason was because I was getting all my information online from random people, and I wasn't really receiving any why behind everything that was happening. So I am now for it, majorly for it, but I just kind of wanted to point that out. Like, sometimes you just need, a little bit more information getting out, and for people to hear it, and it might not be getting out there as easily as you think it is. So I just kind of wanted to point that out, but thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. All right. All right, that concludes public comment for this evening. Yes.
So I have some remarks from some residents that I'd like to read. Do you want me to save that for new business or continue here during public comment?
You can go ahead if you'd like.
So I received about a dozen emails.
Are you possibly able to tell us the name just as they would?
I'm going to paraphrase, and there's only one thing I'm going to read, and it has addresses, and I'd rather not, because it tells where people went to go to school, so I'd rather not read the names, because people don't need to know where children go to.
Okay.
I'll finish, and then if I need names, I told Mark I'd be forwarding all the emails anyway.
Okay.
But the one I'll read about the schools, I'm not going to read who that's from.
Yeah, the only reason I said that is because if you were reading it as public comment, they say their name and their address and turn that in.
Oh, for sure.
So
And I'm not reading anything specifically, I'm just giving an overview of what I received. So I received about 9 or so emails and a couple of messages on Facebook when the workshop was announced, and I do appreciate the amount of runway that was given. I feel like it was out there for like a month, and I really appreciate that of Public Works. And the feedback I received was a lot of people that were taken back that there would be a speed reduction in concert with 2 new stop signs. And, I assured them, like, I appreciated the feedback. I encouraged the feedback. We as elected officials, we need the feedback, right? We can't just take one person's interpretation of something when there's at least 6,000 residents that live between Brightleaf and Lakemont. I live in Lakemont. I travel that stretch a couple times a day. In attending the workshop, I felt like I got to know more about the plan, and I did request collision data to see how many accidents had occurred in like the last 2 years on that whole stretch, as well as the speed studies that were performed. I haven't received that yet, but I did request it. And one thing that I thought was interesting was the data that was provided at the workshop said that the average speed is 1 mile over the stated speed limit. And my thought from that was, well, what if we put up temporary stop signs as this project is taking off and see if that eliminates any speeding issues before we reduce the speed from 35 to 25? Because they're going to eventually be there, but they can sandbag stop signs and people can practice while this project is underway. And I wasn't aware that there was an issue toward Mesa, and I spoke to some of you folks at the workshop, and I appreciated the feedback that you provided to me, because I wasn't aware that there were concerns in that stretch with regard to checking mail and other things that impacted the daily lives of our residents there on Narrows. And one thing I will say, and Kevin Quinn always likes to mention this, because I called him, my friend and I were on a walk, and I watched 2 boys cross on bikes from Ridgewood. They crossed a country. They didn't look both ways, and a car was not speeding. And I watched them almost get hit by a car. And I called him, and I was like shaking. I was like, oh my God, Kevin, we've got to do something. And he's like, we can't do a cross block. He was, I was like freaking out on the phone with him. This was a couple years ago, and he reminds me of this call. So I definitely am in support of, it's a frequently crossed section, because the sidewalk literally ends currently, and people come over to where it continues by Lynn Haven. So having witnessed that, and I have a small boy who's eventually going to be a kid on a bike, out of the neighborhood going to visit his friends in Spring Valley. Like, that's it's part of life, and it's going to be, hopefully, a well-traveled sidewalk network. So my ask is that we consider doing a speed study once temporary stop signs are in. The other ask that I have is that we time construction, and this is from feedback from a parent rather, who sends their child to Turkey Foot and to Hinsdale. I'm going to pull up this and read it right quick. I will not give names because I don't think it's anyone's business where people send their kids, but I'm to that granular level. But the bus routes, Turkey Foot picks up in the morning at 6:45, and they usually leave the neighborhood between 7:30 and 7:40. That same bus leaves Turkey Foot and is back in the neighborhood between 7:50 and 8. They have to do 2 routes because of a lack of bus service. So our street's on the first stop, both routes. The buses return to Hinsdale between 8:30 and 8:40. When the state does work on Richardson Road, they start at 8:30. All I'm asking is that we take this into consideration and maybe push construction to 9 a.m. to take into consideration that bus route, because these kids will be late for school. In the afternoon, similar pickup, students from Turkey Foot at 2:40, our street by 3:15. The Hinsdale, they're usually not back to Hinsdale till 3:45. They have to do 2 different routes, and kids are waiting there an hour to get the second round of buses to come to this side of Erlanger. Between 3:45 and 3:55, though school was out at 3:30, and those elementary kids get dropped off between 3:30 and 3:40. So it's a very tight timeline. It's going to add potentially like some bus disruption. All I ask is that when this construction starts, we take into either push it till the end of the school year, or we take these bus routes into consideration, because kids are going to be late for school, and the ones that have to wait a whole hour to be picked up for that second round of buses are going to have to be waiting as you guys are working through the process. So that's my ask. That came from one particular parent, but I had multiple people reach out to me about the bus schedule, completely concerned about active and ongoing construction in that stretch because of how tight the bus schedule is. So I'll stop talking. I appreciate you guys.
Mr. Hermes?
Mrs. Reckers, I know you had mentioned that you'd got like 9 or a dozen emails. I'm just trying to keep a tally of like how many people are for keeping it the same and how many want to reduce the speed. Would you mind sharing some of the numbers?
I didn't have a single one that wanted to reduce the speed. I did have some people verbally tell me. We have residents that work for the city of Erlanger who love the idea. So I have people express the very similar sentiments that they want the speed reduced, but every email and message I received was in opposition to that, and my proposal was, well, I wonder if there's an opportunity to just see what a new speed study would look like with temporary stop signs and make an informed decision at that point if there's truly an ongoing speed issue. People are going to roll through stop signs anyway. I think for 2.5 or 3 years of data that I pulled for collisions, like it's a deer, it's DUIs, and there's 5 or so in there that were actually like single vehicle involved running into a pole. People are going to speed. They're going to run through stop signs anyway. We've got people calls. There's one email that I will forward to Mr. Collier that calls it Stopmont because there's so many stop signs in Lakemont. So that's.
So like 10, there's like 10 for it?
I have 9.
I'm sorry, 9?
9 in opposition, well, of the stop signs and the reduction, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll talk to Chief Fleming, but it was always my understanding that stop signs weren't a reduction in speed deterrent, that they were specifically set up for like the crosswalks and to get people across properly, but we can evaluate. Yes.
I had 2 people reach out to me that could not be here tonight. One specifically asked to remain anonymous, so I am not going to share their information, but I am going to read their statement. As someone who drives this road daily, my knee-jerk reaction was to be opposed to lowering the speed limit. The speed study shows there is not a speeding problem. I would prefer to do sidewalks first before adding stop signs so that need can be assessed. Now that I know there will be a solid sidewalk all the way to the fire station, and then there's a path from the fire station to Southwick that already exists, it seems like the crosswalk need, crosswalk need would benefit from an assessment of use. We know there are 50,000 cars per week. If there end up being a nominal number of pedestrians, it seems like 2 stop signs and reduced speed could really inconvenience a lot of people when it's potentially not needed. Honestly, I'd be more in favor of lowering the speed limit in lieu of the stop signs now that I know there's a path on one side of the road. A low or slower speed limit would help if people do want to cross the street by looking both ways, but it would not require all 50,000 cars per week to stop twice along their way for what will most frequently be no reason. That's my 2 cents. I'm not going to throw a fit one way or another. The other person that emailed me had a lot of questions. I'm not going to read all of his emails because a lot of it was questions that I was able to answer, but the last email he sent, he said, feel free to paraphrase what I'm saying. This particular person did not ask to be anonymous, so I'll share his name. It's Matt Rommel, and he did not give me his address, but he lives in Sherborne. He pointed out that the traffic study showed an average speed of only 1 or 2 miles an hour over, and he argues that that's a negligible margin that doesn't warrant an expensive project or increased police or city concern. He questioned the accident data as having only had 8 wrecks over the 4 years and wondered if those were actually caused by speeding and if stop signs would have prevented them in the first place. He was vocal in his opposition to the proposed stop signs and said that it would increase vehicle wear and tear and waste fuel due to constant stopping and starting and unnecessarily lengthen commutes. He also said that we could have crosswalks without stop signs. I do know that exists some places, but when I talked to Kevin about that last week, he mentioned that that was the reason for the stop signs was the crosswalks. So just sharing what the 2 people shared with me. The only other thing I'll say is I do agree with Ms. Reckers that, I recognize that stop signs are not a speed control method. However, I drive that road on a regular basis. Last Saturday, I drove it and I did stop at those 2 intersections. It would be pretty hard to continue going 35 and after stopping at those places. I'm sure there's people who can do it, but I think by default, people are going to have to slow down with the stop signs. So that's my thoughts.
I'm sorry, we're beyond public comment. I'm sorry, we're beyond public comment.
I was just going to add something that Joe had mentioned during the meeting on the 26th, that Vioxx had done a study, and they were the ones, for the safety reasons, that recommended a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit due to the closeness of the sidewalk to the road.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, that's all I'll say.
Okay. Yeah, and just so that the individuals that are watching from home can hear what you said, you were referencing something that was stated at the public workshop talking about the Vioxx and Vioxx speed study that they evaluated, the safety for the pedestrians, and they were recommending the stop signs and the decreased. Yeah, there is quite a bit of it that's right up against the street due to the lack of right-of-way, so. Yeah, Kevin is here. Not right now, I'm being told, but stand on guard. All right. Is that good? We're good? Okay. Okay, mayor's report. I do want to thank everybody that came out to the public workshop. I'm hearing that the signage was a little confusing, so we'll get that right the next time, about it being a meeting. I think there were a few people that thought that we were going to meet the entire day. So we'll be a little more clear on our public workshops from here on out. But for those of you that did stop out and took a look at the plan and understood the reasoning behind the reduction in the speed and the additional stop signs, we are truly trying to slow people down. We are trying to make this a walkable community and a safe community, and that was one of the biggest requests. How long have we been trying to get the sidewalk connected since you were mayor? Since 2017. So this has been a long time coming, and it's just been one hurdle after another hurdle after another hurdle. So we're praying that we're at the home stretch. So I don't know if anybody in VOX's team is watching, but thank you for all of their hard work. This has been a really difficult one to navigate. So thank you. And Kevin, you go above and beyond. I think the public workshop Rebecca's right. There was a lot of time given, putting up the signage and making sure that the word is out there. It's hard to get the word out for certain things. Not everybody's on social media, not everybody is signed up for our email newsletter. So being able to have that additional communication with residents, and we try to do as many of the signs along our main thoroughfares as possible. So thank you for doing that. I did want to touch base on one other thing. So the last time we were in these council chambers, we were talking with KYTC, Bob Yeager, about the reconfiguration of Dixie Highway. I did have a brief meeting on Monday. Everything is still on pause as far as the reconfiguration. However, they did let us know that they are going to start the pavement improvements, the base failures, the curb improvements. So they're going to start those very, very soon, if not already. So just don't be frightened. They are not doing the reconfiguration, I promise. I think I've said over my dead body. Yes, but they are going to start doing that work. And they have also reassured me that the resurfacing of that corridor is not dependent upon the reconfiguration. So no matter what, we are still going to be resurfaced. It is past its prime. It needs to be resurfaced. So if you see guys out there working, they are not reconfiguring Dixie Highway, I promise. Okay. City Administrator, Mr. Collier.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple updates that I wanted to provide council as well as our community. Staff is continuing to follow legislation that would impact both positively and negatively Erlanger. Senate Bill 237 is one that I called out in your council packets and your memo. That was formerly House Bill 495, and what that does is it could materially impact Erlanger's occupation license revenue. For us, that is a large impact. What the bill is trying to solve for is some potential payroll shifts tied to remote employees. So large corporate offices in our region, notably Fidelity, is really where this bill is being written for. That really does help some of our cities in Northern Kentucky, Covington being the chief of which could be helpful for that, but it would negatively impact us. We have not been able to formally calculate the exact numbers of how this bill would negatively impact us. Staff has been in touch with the county to try to get an estimate of what that looks like. And don't hold me or the county to this, but if all of the Fidelity employees that live in the city of Erlanger now have to pay Covington instead of us, we could be out around $150,000. So that is not a good deal for us. Where we are right now is we are not asking for formal legislation from this body at the moment. Our best estimates, talking through with our Northern Kentucky caucus members, is that this bill is probably not going to move any further than it is right now. So we are still monitoring that. From your perspective, the call to action is do talk to your legislators for the audience as well. House Bill 495 495, Senate Bill 237, not a good bill as it is right now. Shifting over to the overall trend in how Frankfurt is looking at Northern Kentucky right now, they are saying that KLC is they are characterizing this year's session as the anti-home rule trend. That is also not a good thing for cities. And what that means is that the state is looking at the cities and saying, we got this. We don't need you guys to legislate. Well, we don't think that that's a good idea. We think that any preemptive bills, whether they be housing or zoning or occupation licenses, we should be the ones that give that have authority over those decisions. So no bills to really call out other than that KLC is characterizing this session as extremely hostile towards local governments. So we will continue to monitor that. If there is a need for a call to action, we will definitely put that out to council, mayor, staff, and potentially the community as well. Just a quick update as well. In that same vein, there's been 1,200 bills that have been filed this session, which is a record. So a lot of pace, a lot of movement, and we are doing our best to monitor that on your behalf. Last update, Mayor, we are looking at trying to get the budget documents to you all a little bit earlier this year, 2 weeks, in fact. We have not really finalized that budget timeline. We will be doing that this week. I will communicate to you all to let you know exactly how that looks, but just to kind of give you a preview of how that will look is to be able to get you guys documents a little bit earlier. We may have to shift around some scheduling in April as it relates to our council meetings and our caucus meetings, but we will be in touch with you all this week just to confirm that everybody can get there, but the net is that we're trying to get you guys documents a little bit earlier this year. Any questions? Very good. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, City Attorney's report. Mr. Gatlin?
Yeah, I just want to briefly address some of the comments that we heard in the public comment section as it relates to the pond at the end of Narrows Road. You know, it's always a challenging situation anytime Public Works is involved in any kind of project, right? Because the goal of the city is for the benefit of the city and its residents, and you don't want to ever negatively harm any one group of residents. So there's always a balance there. And I just want to say my experience with Director Quinn and his team is they're very, very careful. They don't make these decisions alone. This particular project, there has been tremendous integration, not only with VOX and VOX, but with SD1. SD1 has granted a permit for this. And I don't have a full history, but this pond has probably been a detention pond that SD1 has used for many, many years. As soon as there were some concerns that the residents brought up a while back, you know, they very quickly involved VOX and VOX. I'm copied in all of that. City leadership's involved in that. Again, it made it, some of the comments somewhat made it seem that Public Works sort of acts alone in this, and they just flat out don't. And I know that Mr. Quinn is going to talk a little bit more about this project, and I'm not going to steal all his thunder. I didn't want council or the public to think that somehow they're acting alone, because you have to rely on the experts. And at the end of the day, we've hired VOX and VOX here at the city for over 50 years probably. And you have to rely on them, and we cannot ever add to any kind of storm water collection system without an approval and permit from SD1, which we have received for this project. So I'll just leave it with that, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Collier, reports on any capital projects.
Hey, Mayor, if that's okay with you, I'm just going to kick that over to Kevin Quinn to also give update on capital projects as well as an update on this.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll start with the biggest project we got going on in Eons Park, right? So, you know, as soon as the weather breaks, we're going to be really out there kind of hitting it pretty hard. We've got a few months to get a lot accomplished, and we've already made some strides with the park. I mean, it's completely different than what it was when it was a concrete plant. You wouldn't even know that concrete plant was there. So we currently have the fence in. We're going to get some electric in. We'll have some lights installed on some of the tall poles, not all of them. I think there'll be 14 barn-style lights that are going to be on the poles. The fence will be painted black. We do have water fountains ordered. Those will be going in. We should be receiving those early April. City crews will be putting those in and installing those. There's going to be 3. There's going to be one for each paddock for the dogs, along with a bottle filler. And then on outside of the paddock, there will also be an ADA bottle filler and a dog bowl outside the paddock as well. So those things are going on there. We're also working on an overlook down by the bridge. We've done a lot of clearing. We've done some grading in that area currently, but we're looking to kind of put a seat wall in, a really nice swing with the Eons logo on it. And we're going to do 2 swings. We're going to do one on one side and then on the other side as well, where it's got the real pretty view of the falls coming down. There's going to be a swing on that side as well. With the pump track, the weather hasn't been real cooperative here lately with the snow, and then it looks like we've got a couple weeks of rain, it looks like, coming our way. But Dirt Solutions is going to be moving in up on the top hill there to put in the pump track and add that feature up there. And we do have a building that's scheduled to, a maintenance facility that we'll be sharing with the police department. That's going down the kind of in the bottom left-hand corner of that property. So a lot of things going on with Eons, and it's a great project. We're going to get a really nice dog park. I mean, my daughter keeps telling me, when are we going to put our dog banner up or whatever? So I know it's an exciting thing for Lauren that's working on that. So I know there's a lot of excitement in the air for this project to get off the ground. So looking to do a ribbon cutting probably in June. Probably do another ribbon cutting for the pump track probably in July, and then maybe piggyback on one of Lauren's events she's going to have at the bridge for a ribbon cutting down there. So in August. So a lot of great things there. So street projects, they're going to be getting off the ground. I know a lot of people here to talk about Narrows Road, so I'll talk about that here shortly. But all of our street projects are going to be coming up. Concord, Eaton Asphalt's going to be doing that one. They verified with us, we're first on the list. They've got a lot of work. Wriggler has a lot of work within the city. Deer Chase and Thorn Tree still need to be repaved. All the full depths have been done on that street. And then trying to think, Locust Street is getting a repaving. So on Narrows Road. So these public workshops are great. When Peter Glenn came here, I think the first one we did was over behind Firehouse 3, and we went out to the street and set up tents, ordered pizza, had drinks, and people could just walk to us and talk. Not a great turnout though, really. I mean, we probably had 15 people. The one we had for Narrows, we probably had, counting spouses, we probably had 60 people there. And it's a lot of good dialogue, talking back and forth, for or against. But I can say, I think overwhelmingly, everybody wants this project to go through. They want the sidewalks, they wanted the speed lowered, and they wanted the stop signs. As the mayor said, VOX did work on this project. Peter was still the director at the time, and he asked Michelle Bowman to do a stop sign study. VOX does have a traffic engineer on staff, John Girdler. He's the one that did the stop sign study, and his recommendation was to add the 2 stop signs at the locations he determined, which were Country and Lynn Haven and Mesa. His other recommendation was to lower the speed. This isn't the old county road it used to be. As Ms. Pike said, there was 5 houses on it when she was moved there. We've got thousands of cars that are traveling that. And the study was done for pedestrian safety. It wasn't based on speed. I'm sure it was taken in consideration, but it wasn't just strictly based on speed or accidents. These sidewalks are, in certain areas, as been said tonight, are up against the back of the street. One is in the turn, in kind of that 90-degree turn as you head towards Ridgewood, so they're extremely close. and there are going to be some curbs added in those spots to keep people as they veer off looking at their cell phone. Once they fill that 6-inch curb, they can have a chance to get it back. So I think lowering the speed's the right decision. I think adding the stop signs. So my opinion is, my recommendation is to proceed with what we have. So a couple other things. I just want, Amy, I did reach back out to you. I called you when I got back from vacation, as I said I would, and I tried to set up 2 other opportunities with you on a Friday after the public workshop, and again on Monday, and you told me you couldn't make either one. So I just wanted to be clear that I did reach back out with that information. So I can't think of anything else to talk about with Narrows. I can take any questions from council, though. Ms. Nicely.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate the workshop. I attended that as well, and Joe was very informative explaining everything. And I agree as well, too, about the stop signs, the sidewalk, and reducing the speed limit. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kevin. All right. Sherry, you got anything?
No, ma'am.
All right, reports of task forces this evening. Mr. Hermes?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let people know that the first meeting of the Open Records Report Task Force will be next Tuesday, March 10th at 2 p.m. here at the Small Council Chambers.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
Is there a reason you're having it at 2 p.m.? Other than a time when most of our task forces meet in the evening or later. I think we've talked before about how council members have a really hard time. Most council members have a hard time attending meetings that happen during the workday because a majority of us have full-time jobs. So I personally didn't feel like that task force needed to exist, but I had planned to attend. I won't ever be able to attend a meeting at 2 p.m. And maybe that's maybe that's your reason for having it at 2 p.m. I don't know. But I would request, for the benefit of the public and the rest of council, that you have it at a time that would be more feasible for council members and the public to attend. But if you don't want me there, which is probably why you're having it at 2, go ahead.
There's nothing that indicates that we have to have it at a certain time within the ordinance, so we'll move on. All right, any other task forces? Any other task forces? We're going to move on. Well, we're moving on. Any other task force? Yes, Ms. Jasper Lucas.
There is something in the ordinance that says that at least 2 council members need to attend.
Okay.
So it also says that you're supposed to follow the minutes template, which Mr. Hermes has not done for other task forces that he's done. Okay. So I would hope that that exists.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other task forces? Okay. Ms. Hoffman, are there any bids tonight?
I'll take that, Sherry, if that's okay. Okay. 2 bids that we wanted to report on. For February, we had a bid opening for a fence at Silver Lake. We received 3 bids on that, and the low bid was awarded to S&S Fencing. That is the first. The second, which is on your agenda, that is for city audit services. We put that bid out. Kara Kramer, our finance director, wanted me to provide a little bit of rationale as to why we did that. We had been with our auditor for the past 12 years. She feels like this is probably, just good to get new eyes on the city's finances. So nothing that our former auditor did. They did a great job, and we really appreciate all the work that they have done, but we just want to get a little bit new set of eyes on it. So we got 2 bids on that. Our auditor did go up a little bit, so there is an increase from last year's number over our auditor to the tune of about $14,000, $14,625 in fact, and this was awarded to Cherry Becker. The other thing that Kara wanted me to mention was that they are currently doing audit work in Bowling Green, Danville, Frankfort, Boone County Fiscal Court, and Richmond, Kentucky.
I just had a comment on that, that we did a bid process for the audit, and I just want to point out, Ms. Kramer, I don't think has ever asked for something that's going to cost the city more money. So that says a lot to me that she feels that we need that, and I take that very seriously. The other couple of things I want to mention is that I agree that we need a fresh set of eyes every so often on city finances. Different people bring a different perspective. The last thing I want to point out is, in my profession as an insurance agent, I see situations at least once a week of employee theft. Whether it's my own clients or just hearing about it in the news, it's a serious problem. I'm not saying at all that that would happen here. We have a lot of checks and balances in place, but that's one of the reasons that you need a strong audit, because they test those things to make sure that our checks and balances are what they need to be. And it can literally happen anywhere, and it's always the person you least suspect. We just, we are entrusted with the taxpayers' money, and we have to make sure that we protect the city resources and have the checks and balances in place to prevent misuse of funds.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, that is it. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, unfinished business. Okay, new business. Ms. Wilson?
Yes, I would like to make a comment on the young man, our student council person, Chris, and his request for recycled can, good for his water fountain. Well, I found out tonight that he's not going to be able to do the water fountain. However, I want to thank all my family and friends and neighbors who left cans to help his project to get this water fountain. And every day, well, not every day, but most of the time I come home and there's a bag of cans at my door. So they're all into supporting the students and the schools. So I just want to give a shout out to the family, friends, and neighbors. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Chris. All right, legislation. Mr. Gatlin.
All right, first we have a second reading, an ordinance to the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, creating a redevelopment and an assessment moratorium program. This is a new program that came out of the Small Business Task Force, which is creating a moratorium for people that do a complete demolition or rebuild, or other different types of significant improvements that are defined in the ordinance. That properties would be any structure that is 25 years or older that has a primary use as a commercial facility or as an existing residential building. It lists all of the zones in which this moratorium would apply. This would only be for city taxes. And it allows a property owner to defer the value of building improvements from taxable assessment for a period of 5 years. This is a second reading.
All right, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this ordinance as read? Ms. Nicely, Ms. Reckers, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cahill,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hermes,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Fields,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reckers,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Nicely,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jasper Lucas,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Farmer,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Skidmore.
All right, motion carried.
Hi, next we have a municipal order of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, making the written determinations required by KRS 82083 for the sale or other disposition of property owned by the city. You can see that there are 3 Dodge Chargers by the police department. They were patrol vehicles. They're being disposed because of age condition by electronic auction.
All right, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Mr. Farmer, Ms. Wilson, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
All right, finally, we have a resolution of the City of Erlanger, Kentucky to authorize the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement for Kenton County Regional Special Weapons and Tactics, SWAT, Inc. Through the years, the SWAT program has continued to expand. This interlocal agreement is for the, I'm going to say newly created, or at least they've changed the name. They've replaced it primarily because they've now added communities in Campbell County to this. So you can see all of the communities that are now a part of this much larger regional SWAT team. That sounds redundant. SWAT program. Help me out. SWAT operation? All right. Thank you.
You wanted to get that right. All right, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Mr. Farmer, Mr. Eckers, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. I know Steve Hensley wanted to get that taken care of, so we could check that off our list. Okay, announcements. I wanted to back up just really quick to the redevelopment and assessment moratorium program. I wanted to thank Councilman Hermes. So you had identified this as something that City of Norwood was doing and brought it to the Small Business Task Force as a potential opportunity, and it's real now. So, I mean, this is just a really good example of going out into the world, finding awesome things that awesome people are doing and bringing them back to our community and making it a reality for our business owners and our residents. So thank you. All right. I also wanted to say tomorrow's Renee Skidmore's birthday. 27. She's 27. So if you see Renee, tell her happy birthday. All right, you're welcome. Do I entertain a motion that we adjourn? Okay, Mr. Eckers, Ms. Wilson, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. Have a good evening.